As we look to offices reopening, what do you think that's going to look like? I mean, are we going to see some companies go remote only, or are we going to see a hybrid approach, or do you think we're going to have back to normal offices, everybody back inside?
No, and so that's kind of the million dollar question is, companies are trying to figure this out themselves right now. And we're seeing a lot of different directions being followed depending on industry or, the type of work that people are doing. Obviously, as we're talking to healthcare companies, there's a lot more conversation about how do we safely bring non-essential people back to the office. Like they're thinking as people are coming back, we're talking to tech companies and they're like, no, we're going with this hybrid fluid environment. Some people will come back, some won't come back. We're going to look at, how to mix up those different shifts of people that are coming back. So it really just depends on who you're talking to as far as what the sentiment on bringing people back to work is. I mean, the bottom line is everyone is looking to reopen their office in some way or fashion, and whatever that may look like. What the mix of people back in the office will look like, I think people are going to do a trial and error or a learning experience there to see what the future of their workplace is going to look like.
So that has to have an impact on sort of enterprise technologies like ERP systems and HR systems, and how are companies dealing with this sort of shift or this unknown in terms of those technologies?
Yeah. So if you look at the technologies that companies are using today to run their business, it's that part's not really going to change. Like they're still going to need to run their business. The differences will be, it's really that employee engagement layer. How are we going to engage with our employees, and what systems do we have in place, or what systems do we need to use to engage with the employees for the interaction with that return to the workplace experience? And that can range from greater employee communication, that can range from employee interaction with the workplace itself, that can range from workplace teams and how they manage and look at real estate going forward. All of those systems will interact back and forth with back-end systems, ERP systems, and HRIS. So there's got to be a lot more employee engagement going forward when it comes to any type of system that is dealing with running a department, running a business, or running something within the realm of that business.
I think one of the things you also mentioned was safety, or we talked about earlier, was safety. And now I'm just thinking about in terms of employee safety. So what kind of components go into a new modern office employee safety strategy?
Yeah, and again, I see companies wanting to lean in on over communication, and it's the best strategy. Over communicate, put in different safety measurements, procedures, whether it's a health attestation, a health check, getting the employee sentiment on whether they're ready to return to work, so you can really look at it from the workforce and the workplace. So how can I engage with my workforce to really see what that appetite to come back to work is? Is that going to be a choice for the employer or not? And then the workplace itself, how can I do things like do temperature checks at the front? Can I have the right amount of, personal and private inventory for a face mask or whatever it might be for coming back to work? Can I put things in place to ensure physical distance within the workplace? Do we need to shut down certain sections? Do we need to change the configuration of the building to ensure that we're not using, we're only using a certain capacity of our real estate to ensure the safetiness for our employees? And then the key to all this is making sure the employees know that all of this is taking place for everyone that is potentially going to be at that office, so that there's this sentiment of relieving the anxiety for going back to the workplace during this time.
That sounds like an overwhelming amount of responsibility. So what sort of tools are we looking at that are going to help enterprises manage this?
Yeah, and so it does sound overwhelming, but breaking it up into buckets and really putting a plan down. For example, I even talked to my VP of real estate, and he's really great. And he says, this is our back to work plan, and these are the things that we're putting in place. And he's using the platform to to really look at how do I communicate with the employee, how do I get that sentiment, and then how do we start to bring people back to work and engage with that employee, let them sign up. We're going to a hybrid work environment. What does that work environment look like? So we're using a single platform to do all of this, and it makes it easier when everything is on that single platform and in front of you, because you can tie all of these things together. So if there is something, like if there is a safety protocol that we need to take action on, or that he needs to take action on, whether it's contact tracing or whatnot, we have everything recorded. We have everything in place to jump into action with what that protocol will be and how to manage it.
One thing in particular that I was interested in diving into is, because it's in the news, is our vaccines and vaccine status tracing. Is that something that companies have? Are there tools? Are there processes in place for managing that?
Yeah, so vaccine management and vaccine status. So there's a couple ways to look at that. Like helping, we're out there helping, local governments and states distribute vaccines. So there's that aspect of it. But when you're looking at like corporate facilities and companies and how to manage even the status, is someone vaccinated? Or I just read this great article that says, can a company require you to be vaccinated to come back to work? So there's all these different issues around the vaccine, and how to manage that. And I'm not really, I really don't have an opinion on whether companies can enforce that, but at least tracking the status, so that we know which employees are vaccinated. And it really plays into that contact tracing story. Who should we be most concerned about? Someone's reported sick, and having an idea of the effect of what that's going to be is where that really comes into play.
So just to bring it all together, let's go to 5,000 feet. How do you think the office is going to change post-pandemic? Let's say you're talking to someone at a party. This is what you're going to tell them.
Yeah, I think the biggest change for offices going forward is going to be the utilization of real estate. And in the past, for example, you might have set offices. People come in, they've got their cube, they've got their office. They know that this conference room, it seats 8 people, and we utilize this space as best we could to maximize the usage of that real estate with the number of people that we know are coming in and out of the office. So all that's going to change. And again, it goes back to the way the company is going to approach this return to the office scenario. So I see a lot of shifts. Like the main shift you're going to see is, how do we enable a hybrid office environment? And some people are going to continue to work from home, but they're still going to come in sometimes, whether it's a collaborative situation or, they're going to come in 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 2 days a week, whatever that may look like. The office is going to change. You might not have a sign desk anymore. There might not, there might be more of a neighborhood of a desk, or a neighborhood situation where people just come in to collaborate. So departments can come in and use these different neighborhoods, or these certain desks are only assigned for certain situations. Conference rooms, they used to seat 12 people. Now that 12-person room is going to be used for 6 people. So do we need more conference room? Do we need less conference rooms? Do we rearrange the office for this neighborhood concept instead of having assigned desks? So it's just, how do you manage the hybrid workforce coming back to work in that hybrid fashion? So it really is going to change. That's going to be the biggest change to the workplace.